And we're back. And if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our third conversation for this morning started. And we are getting an update from Rugby Belize. And we're talking all about what they have been up to and some of the upcoming events which we can look forward to. And joining us, we have Tony Gillings, who is the president of Rugby Belize. And we also have Aubrey Cock, who is a player from the Rugby Sevens national team. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yes, and it's great to have you. We were talking a little bit during the break about how things are at the moment because, as we know, rugby, it's a developing sport in Belize, but due to the pandemic and some of the restrictions, we are the ability, I should say, to practice and stuff is somewhat affected. So can we talk a little bit about just what the state of things are right now?
Okay. Well, obviously with COVID and the ban on contact sports, we are not allowed to go on the field and train. So all the players have been doing their keep fit stuff at home. Doing their own personal keep fit training, doing a lot of running. You might see people running around the streets. That's the rugby players keeping up their mileage because they've all been allocated like 20 miles to run a month or something like that. So that's what they do. They have to keep in shape. It's a pity that we can't do the contact sports because rugby is all about the contact. It's all about the tackling, the scrums and stuff like that. And you need to train those. You need to practice them all the time. So it has been a challenge, a real challenge. And this has been going on now for like 2 weeks previously, but there was a ban on contact sports for almost a year now.
Last year, yeah.
So it has been a real challenge for anybody doing contact sports. But if you're into the sport, you do your own stuff at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's a critical time for you. You're preparing for a tournament and you're not allowed to practice together. My question is, how do you get ready to compete and what's your plan?
Yeah, that is a real big challenge because we talk about rugby being a team sport. It's not a one-person sport, it's a team sport. So you have to work together as a team. And when you're not allowed to get out on the field, the only way to really do that is watch videos of rugby games, especially in sevens, there's lots of those. So you learn what other teams are doing, especially our competitors. And then you do video stuff, you talk to each other.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to get out and do non-contact training. We've tried doing that before, but it's very difficult.
What's non-contact training for rugby?
You just practice throwing and kicking the ball around.
Okay.
And for example, a lot of sprinting action and running as well as a group.
Yeah.
For example, our captain's run that we've done throughout Orange Walk, Belize City, San Ignacio.
Yeah.
Those are non-contact, but it's to keep up your general fitness as well and to just keep practicing your skills. Right?
Now, are all the team players vaccinated?
Yes.
Okay. Have you perhaps lobbied to the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Sports to maybe get your own bubble created so that you can train and then be able to be prepared for your competition?
The first time we had this 2-week period of shutdown, I did that. I wrote to the sports minister and I asked him, look, we are training for a big event, but we got no response. So when the last SI came out and it said no contact sports again, I got straight onto the phone to the sports minister and said, please, 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 we have a massive tournament coming up in 2 weeks' time. Please, can we get a waiver? Now, I understand this morning is a cabinet meeting. I understand that the sports minister is taking that request to the cabinet. So hopefully we'll hear something this afternoon which will allow the national team to get together in a bubble and do the training they need.
How many players, and are all, when I say vaccinated, I mean fully vaccinated, 2 shots plus 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. How many players?
12.
12.
12, yeah.
Do you have a location that you'd be able to kind of establish your own bubble for them?
Well, we have been using Orange Walk an awful lot. There's a stadium there that we've been training in, so I think, and it's fenced, so people can't get into it either. We can close the gates to stop anybody coming in. So probably that's where we'll do it. But we've got less than 2 weeks now, so it's going to be a challenge.
And internationally, how is it? How are people hosting competitions when many countries are fighting a spike in COVID?
Well, this is the reason why this particular tournament, which usually happens every year, most of the countries involved have only been given 2 months' notice it was going to happen. And what with the delay to the Olympics from last year to this year, the ramifications of not allowing countries to compete at these tournaments means that people are not qualifying, nations are not qualifying for the next steps. And this is a qualifier for the World Series. If it doesn't happen this year, the World Series for next year is cancelled. So it's huge. It's a huge domino effect of all of these things.
Right. Now tell us about what's it like for you. Clearly you want to get back to practicing, but you said you're also just running a whole lot.
Yes. The way I like to think of it and explain it to people who aren't familiar with rugby, I would say it's a combination with the running that you see in our football and the time. For example, in rugby sevens, you have 2 7-minute halves within a game, and the clock consistently goes, and there really isn't a stoppage unless the referee allows it or there's an injury, right? So whatever happens in the game, it happens. So you have to have that stamina to continuously run.
Yeah.
But we also incorporate some of the physical contact that you see in American football.
Yeah.
Right.
Without the gear.
Without the gear.
Yeah.
But contrary to what may be seen out there, we do practice to tackle safely. We're shown techniques on proper tackling, and we also have our referee. There he enforces good safety measures. For example, if someone jumps up to get the ball, you can't just grab them and pull them out the air, and you can't tackle someone above their shoulders. It's a big penalty. Right, so contrary to what you may have seen, we try to be as safe as possible, and a big aspect of it as well is that we respect the word of the referee. So once we're out on the field, whatever he say goes. And unlike other sports, we're drilled that you aren't even to look at him too harshly.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rugby.
Is that your training or is that rugby training?
That's rugby training.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the tenets of rugby that because it's a physical contact sport, that the players are not allowed to question the referee.
Okay.
When he blows the whistle to stop the game, that's it. Now, that doesn't mean the referee knows everything. The referees are assessed after the game, and if they think there's been a wrong call, then that's dealt with. But in order to stop friction and confrontation on the rugby field, the only players allowed to talk to the referee are the captains and a player that's been given a penalty. That's it.
Now, how long have you been playing rugby?
I would say about 2 years now.
And what attracted you to it?
Well, what actually, I grew up in the States, and so again I was familiar with American football, and now my sister-in-law, she just mentioned it to me like, hey, there's this guy Tony Gillings, and he's running this rugby program, and it's like American football, so go try it. And I was like, okay, let's see. And I took it lightly because you think what you're playing is the toughest sport. Now when I got out there and they started running past me, I'm like, Jesus. Jesus help me. Right? So it's from there I realized how tough it was, and it became a sort of personal challenge, to get better. And there's a lot of differences between the two sports, and it's very technique oriented as well too. Contrary to just your tackling and whatnot, the passing requires a specific way. They have certain formations which we call scrums and lineouts. Those are what is affecting us with the no contact drill, because those are specific techniques that we need to practice in order to do it well, right? For example, a lineout, the gist of it is when the ball goes out of bounds and you throw it back in, a maneuver we do is that we actually lift the guy up into the air in order to grab the ball. See, that's something that we have to be able to practice safely.
Yeah.
Right?
And coordinate.
So, so that was kind of actually going to be my next question about what has kept you and the other guys, I guess, motivated throughout all this time when there have been so much restrictions on practicing, and how do you keep dedicated to the sport?
I think one of the great things about rugby is it builds a team spirit, it builds a camaraderie, a brotherhood amongst the players, because you're on the field in a dangerous environment, you can get injured. So the chemistry between the players is really good, it's really strong. And once you get into it, you either hate it or you love it. And everybody that's in it right now, all the players, they love it. They love being on the field with their teammates, they love the camaraderie, the spirit. And it's a personal challenge, as Audrey was saying.
Yeah.
You want to get better because you're part of a team, and the team is only as strong as the weakest part. So that's the reason they keep at it.
So this is our national team that you've put together. But Tony, let's not forget, it's been less than a decade since you introduced. Is it?
Yeah,
it's
6
less than
years.
6 years.
Yeah.
That since you started to introduce your rugby program, and it was kind of just come to this park and try out this game.
Yeah.
How surprised are you to see the interest that's grown, the level of training that these guys have put in, and now to be at this phase of competition?
It was, I always knew that rugby would work here. Why? Because we have a young country. Like half the population is under the age of 25 or something. So there's a lot of youth out there, right? And there's not a lot of real active sports where you get organized. There's lots of basketball and football, but it's just kids getting together on a street corner or something doing it. But an organized sport is what was missing. And rugby provides that. You know, and I am kind of surprised about how fast it grew, but then I realized, well, yeah, but why not? Rugby is a noble sport. You know, it's one of those things where you get into and you love it and you want to succeed in it. So we have now 6 teams across the country plus the national team. We got into RAN, which is Rugby Americas North, our regional governing body, in 3 years. That's unheard of. But they could see the potential and the growth. And now the national team we have, they're really good. They're a really strong team. I have a lot of confidence that they're going to do very well in this tournament. And this is the very first time that Belize has entered this tournament.
Yeah.
Like,
Is this? I mean, it's the first time we'll have a rugby national team.
Well, we had one in 2018, don't forget, because we played Guatemala here,
Yes.
right, in Belize City. That was our very first international, but that was a friendly.
Yeah, but it wasn't a competition.
Right.
Yeah.
This tournament is when we start getting ranked as a nation in terms of world rugby.
Yeah.
So this is a really crucial one for us, and there are 10 countries involved in this particular tournament.
Yeah, and what's that that aspect of the journey has been like, you know, from starting it to also now getting it to the point where we can actually compete internationally?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm over the moon. I'm delighted because when
You don't have to watch it on TV anymore. You see it first. That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. But from the day when I arrived here and I was just walking around carrying a rugby ball and kids were saying "hut hut" and I said, "No, this is rugby," and what's that?
Yeah.
From those days to right now, it's been a phenomenal growth, and I'm really delighted. I'm very happy with it. And I'm excited to see what the lads can achieve when they get to Turks and Caicos now, because this is going to be important for them.
Yeah.
You know, because when you talk about player pathways and player development, you can play local district teams and all the rest of it, but if you're serious about it, you want to get on the national team because you want to do it internationally. So yeah, I'm over the moon. I'm very happy.
Yeah, you'll need to compete with people better than you if you want to
absolutely,
grow.
absolutely, yeah.
And what's the level of training like? You said you played other sports before. How does rugby compare?
Well, for us, our motto is, if he dies, he dies. You got on the field. You got on the field. You willingly came, jokingly,
Yes.
right? We try to be safe.
You know how many consent forms are not going to be signed by parents right now?
Yes, but like I say, it's really intense because even amongst ourselves on the team, we have a lot of competitive guys here, and me being on the team, it's always been a quest to do better, you know, run further, do more workouts, lift more weights, things like that. We ourselves try as hard to beat ourselves into the best fitness we can get to,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I find that interesting, kind of the combination of training, because you're working cardio, like football.
Yeah.
But that usually is kind of like slender,
Yeah.
athletic, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're training like American football, where you
Yes.
have to have the muscular
The
strength
bulk.
to
Yeah,
tackle.
absolutely, and you need that as well, because when you see a rugby game and you see the guys getting tackled, it's the bulk that protects the body from the tackle. But also, I mean, because you train players how to fall when they're tackled and how to tackle, you mitigate a lot of what people perceive to be the dangers. Because if you know how to fall the right way, you're not going to be taken by surprise when you get tackled. Because you have to learn to fall in the right way in order to pass the ball backwards. You can't just land on the ground and give the ball up. So there's a tactic there, right? And if you say there's only 2 ways you can tackle a player, that cuts out all the unnecessary stuff that goes on in American football, where it looks like they just grab hold of someone and throw them on the ground. In rugby, you can't do that. There are only two ways you can bring a player down. So all of that is training.
Since your exposure, have you developed your favorite team, players you follow?
Yes, well, I'm more used to, of course, I have a bias towards the USA team. But there are great teams out there, and we're going to go with Fiji, for example. They're an excellent team. South Africa, they're usually a great contender. New Zealand, England. And we have, for example, recently we were watching Kenya perform in the Rugby Sevens, and they were doing excellent as well. But our favorites for the upcoming tournament actually was, I believe, Mexico and Jamaica.
Yeah.
They're also participating in the tournament, and we heard that one week that they were going to be in there. So I thought that even though it would be their B team or something, but come to find out, it's actually the team that was participating in the World Series that's coming to this tournament as well. So we're facing really top-class athletes here, you know.
So let me ask you the question, are we going to simply showcase a team, or are we competing?
We're competing. We're in Pool C, and we've got 3 countries in that group which are slightly more experienced than us. I wouldn't necessarily say they're better than us, because having watched a few of their videos, I know that their skill level is not as high as people are making it out to be. So I think we could get out of Pool C. The question then is, who do we face from the other 2 pools? Mexico is in one, Jamaica's in the other. And they are tier 2, so they're very experienced Rugby Sevens countries. They've just finished participating in the Edmonton round of the World Series. So they're pretty good. But no, I think, you see, the thing is, when you look at these teams, you've got to think of the dedication, the training, the attitude of the players that are in the team, right? If you've got a good, strong team, we are at the same point that Fiji were 10 years ago or more. You know, they started playing rugby in the Pacific Rim group of competitions, and they got better and better and better and stronger because they built a really strong team. So you can have a team that's been playing rugby for 20 or 30 years, but the team on the day is what counts. And if you've got a really strong, disciplined team that knows what they're doing, you can go as far as you can get. No problem.
So who's our captain? And let's say a shout out to the rest of your teammates, the national teammates.
Raheem Cummings. He's our captain from the Orange Walk Black Mambas.
Okay.
Right, he represents all of us, and I believe he really shows the spirit of the team itself, because he's always there, he's dedicated, he willingly puts in the work. So I got to give him credit. And we have a lot of guys from Orange Walk. The Black Mambas make up a good percentage of the team, and they're all excellent players as well. You know, they can run. And that's one thing I can respect about them. They can really run. We also have members from Kyle Bayman. Right? We have the Bayman out there. And last but not least, we also have the Belize City Vikings.
Okay.
Right?
All right. So, Tony, you are hoping for good news that the team will be able to get together and train?
Yes. Fingers crossed, everything, yeah. I mean, the last time I put in a letter, I worded it as strongly as I could to get the point across, but nothing happened. This time I've spoken to the sports minister, and I really feel that they know that this competition is coming up now. We've had a lot of publicity, they know it's going to happen. It's a big thing, not just for rugby, but for Belize.
Yeah.
Right? We've never done this before. This is their first time. So to be told you can't do it will hinder the team. And I don't want that to happen. I want them to get out there and train. So fingers crossed.
Well, keep us posted.
We
and
will.
keep on
Yes.
training.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
good luck. You know, we hope that that does work out for you.
All right.
you.
Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. Now you can get back to your workouts, right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and take that final break. When we come back, we have Trending Tuesdays with Gavin. So stay tuned.